We're live. Good morning, everybody. It's the
Buenos dias.
weekend, nearly the weekend preview to Jornada 12. We've got the mighty Pete Jensen leading us today. And Pete, even with the swivel head, is capable of running this show. Today, I'll be your friendly host, your marvelous host. This is for socios only. And today, we're going to cover why it is that Celtic are going to beat Barcelona at Balaidos on Sunday night. We're going to cover a statue for Mikel Oyarzabal. We're going to describe to you who Unai is. There's a song, of course, there's a song. It's Elche based and it's got Austrian roots. We're going to go all through every game in La Liga, but that is simply for socios. But for the moment, Pete, this is your structure of the show, and therefore I'm going to welcome people in, socios, hello, to theme of the week, which is, as mentioned, Celta against Football Club Barcelona. Now, it was mental in Belgium last night. You think it's going to be even more mental in Balaidos. And this is a protected space. You're amongst friends. We have a safety word well established. Not telling you what it is. And therefore, this is your chance to mix demagoguery with rumpole of the Bailey and exquisite punditry. It's back to the days of La Liga television, Pedro, but this time with mustard. So no equivocation. Devil's advocate. You may have other views, but for this purpose only, make the unequivocal case that Celta beat Barca, and why?
Barca at the moment are trying to play a symphony without a full orchestra. They're trying to play high-line football without a leader in the defence because he left for Saudi Arabia in the summer, and without any sort of choreographed, intensive organised press at the other end of the pitch. And you don't need to think what happened last night. You can go back to last season against Celta Vigo at Montjuic when Borja Iglesias scored 3 goals, and the third goal he scores from the halfway line. Barca's ridiculously high line, getting caught out time and time again. Who plays on the right? Who played on the right last season in the front three for Celta? Escapes me at the moment, but he was running in behind them time and time again.
Was it Alphon, Duran?
No, it was Duran. It was Duran, Pablo Duran. And the game could have been all over by half time in Celta's favour. So any team that's got the weaponry to expose that has got a chance against Barcelona, and Celta Vigo have absolutely got the weaponry to expose that. Brian Zaragoza, I think, will probably start, and he should start because of what he did to Barcelona 2 years ago, September 2023. The performance really that earned him the move to Bayern Munich. And we all know how that turned out. But he absolutely marmalised Barcelona. He scored twice in the first 20 minutes of the game against them. Barca ended up getting a draw from that match.
This is for Osasuna, right?
This is for Osasuna. So he could well start. A lot of teams run out of steam against Barcelona. They have a good first half, and then Barca's bench, even though it's not what it was last season, he tends to be stronger than the smaller teams. That's not the case with Celta Vigo. They can start with players like Aspas on the bench coming on in the second half. I think Mingueza is going to be key. Obviously, he's one of 4 ex-Barcelona players quite likely to play. Jukla could be there as well. Mariba in midfield, and obviously Alonso at the back. But Mingueza will be key. He's going to have to help Marcos Alonso deal with Lamine, who, as we saw last night, is completely washed up and it's just all over for him. And he's also going to help Brian Zaragoza hurt Jules Koundé. If Jules Koundé plays, he's having a terrible season defensively. So there are lots of ways that Celta can expose Barcelona. The history is there. They've got a very good record against them. I think they're going to cause a shock on
what is it?
Saturday or
what is it? Last 10 matches, I think, or is it Barca have only won? Is it twice or 3 times in 10 matches?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got the X's, you've got the law of the X's that always do well against you. You've got history saying that Celta always play well against Barcelona, and you've just got the fact that last season, as I say, they scored 3 against them at Montjuic, and that was when Barcelona were playing the high line well. They're now playing it like it was on show again last night. It's exposed on every attack, and Celta can do them on at the weekend.
Yeah, they've introduced new suits with their sponsor, and what they need to introduce is new brown shorts, because every time an opponent attacks cleverly and runs from deep, they're absolutely cacking themselves. You've heard it here first. Socios, Darren's there, Gerwin's there. Pete says Celta to win at Balaidos at 9 o'clock Spain time on Sunday night. That's it for anybody who's not a socio. Socio is easy to attain as a status. It's $3.99 a month, 30 quid. They'll take you all the way through every competition. Spanish clubs are involved, and from now until July, join us. We're delicious to parse together two different presenters. We're straight into Sunday at 4:15. Pedro. It's a Madrid derby of a fashion. Rayo host Madrid, and it's nearly exactly 12 years since Xabi Alonso last played at Vallecas. It was one of five visits there as a midfielder, during which he suffered 2 defeats. And this time he's against his opposite number in Inigo Perez. It's a battle of the youngsters, 2 very young and moderately inexperienced coaches going up against each other in the battleground known as Vallecas. Question number 1. Did Alonso look like a rabbit caught in the headlights at Anfield on Tuesday to you, given how long he took to make much-needed substitutions and how little he changed his team tactically, either at half-time or thereafter?
Well, I'm going to defend him a little bit because I think he did change. He did make a change at half-time. Goulet went out to the right and Camavinga, the experiment failed completely, and he moved to the middle. And I think if you ask Xabi Alonso who he would rather play on the right of a 4 when he's playing pretty much 4-4-2, his first choice will be Fede Valverde. He can't use Valverde there at the moment because there's a fullback crisis and it won't be solved until Trent's 100% again. And the second option would probably be Mastuana. And Mastuana was unavailable. So the first 2 options for Xabi weren't available to him. They still have the same 2 problems that they had time and again last season in Ancelotti's last year. They don't know who should be, when they reset defensively, who should be the player who goes back in front of the left back. Should it be Vinicius or should it be Bellingham? Do you leave Vinny up front and Bellingham tracks back to left midfield, or vice versa? Neither of them really want to do it. Neither of them do it effectively. That's problem number 1. And the other problem is no one wants to play on that right side. Last season, Ancelotti tried. He tried the other Brazilian who was
Rodrigo.
It's Rodrigo. Rodrigo's not happy there, and we saw that in the second half when he came on in midweek.
Is he even happy at Real Madrid? Move on.
Well, that's another question. Brahim can play there, but he's not always 100% effective. Mastuana potentially is the answer because he's prepared to sacrifice and he's prepared to play there, but at the moment he's not available. So I would defend Xabi, but having said that, I do think there's a growing feeling at Madrid that he's not a brave manager. And we're early into the Xabi years, and he hopes that obviously there'll be years, not year, as has been the case with the likes of Lopetegui and Benitez, and I'm sure he will be given time. But there's just a sense that he's over-conservative, and we saw it in the Clásico. Barcelona were there for the taking. It should have been a big win, and he was very, very cagey in the second half. And throwing caution to the wind earlier, once Plan B had failed, because moving Camavinga into midfield and putting Goulet out wide right didn't work. So something a little bit, and even putting a centre forward on, telling Vinny to go down the right and moving Mbappe away from Van Dijk and have him run the left channel, Vinny on the right, and a centre forward, Gonzalo Garcia possibly, would have been a braver option. He's not so far shown himself to be brave. And there is a question about Xabi in the really big games. Last season at Leverkusen, when he came to the Metropolitano, they went ahead, Atleti had a player sent off, and Atleti ended up winning the game. This season, the Madrid derby, it didn't go well for him. And then again, at Anfield. The great thing about this Champions League format is, does it matter? I mean, it just matters that they get it right in March. And I think they could get it right by March, if Trent starts becoming the right back that Xabi wants him to be, and that will allow Valverde to play on further forward on the right.
What matters, I argue, is that here in Revista de la Liga, we're trying to elevate the debate, as you've just done, beyond simply, will they win this game? Did they win that last game? It's about, is he doing the right things? What are his options? How long is it going to last before the criticism and pressure turns on him? Question 2 about this game. Just tell us a little snapshot, a little snippet about Inigo Perez, Rayo's 37-year-old manager.
Well, it's interesting you mention his age because he's quite keen to make it known that although it's true that he's only been a manager for a season and a half, he's felt like a manager since he was about 18, 19 years old. And he did his badges when he was 18, 19. A couple of years ago, I had to go to the Basque Country to do a feature on the phenomenon of the Basque coaches, because I think the Premier League season was about to start, and it was going to start with a quarter of the managers being from the Basque Country. Lopetegui was at Wolves. That didn't last too long, and so the quarter thing soon broke. And I spoke to Manu Diaz, who's the president of the Football Association up there, and he said that kids here, it's not the case of they get to 16 and they want to pass their driving license. They get to 16 and they want their coaching badges, even though they know that there's a playing career ahead of them. And that was the case with Inigo Perez. He was doing coaching badges at 18, 19, and that makes such a difference. Everything he then experienced as a player, he experienced through the lens of someone who knew one day they would be making the decisions. And I think that makes him such an interesting manager. And Rayo have done incredibly well to keep him for a second season. And there's no end of clubs where you could see him going in there and making a big difference.
Brilliant anecdote. Love the driving license comparison. Saturday at 9:00, we've got the third of what I'm counting as the big games, because it's sixth against third as Espanyol host Villarreal. This is a little bit of whimsical nonsense. Which Villarreal, in my hypothetical world, and let me tell you, you don't need a passport, you just need to become a socio, and it's brilliant here. Come on in, the watering is lovely.